So, status of SENSE-2 project, where we are, and what kind of issues we already identified, gaps that we identified, and what are the proposed tasks and questions for the discussion later in this session. I will try to be very short in this presentation to keep more time for the discussion and the technical questions later. So you have already seen this. It is just a little bit the repetition of the project progress. We completed first 3 tasks, which are actually the input now into this technical mapping link data task. This is the title of the task. Based on the outcomes of the mapping that was between the national indicators and the EEA indicators. To recall the results of this first task, in column A you can see the number of the countries which provided the indicators that can be mapped to the EEA indicator for each of the proposed indicators. And in column B you can see the number of the countries which actually provided the URLs that are direct links to the indicator on the website. From this basis actually shows that it would be wise to continue with only the best set of the indicators during this project, which means that maybe we might reduce the number of the indicators with which we are working maybe to 7 or 6, the best ones. This would be the proposal for the further tasks. So, what other things did we identify within this project? First, it is that the characteristics of mapping is very different. So we expected that we will have one-to-one mapping, so one national indicator to one European or EEA indicator, and this is not the case. So we found actually that all possibilities exist, that more than one national indicator can be mapped to one EEA, that one national can be mapped to several EEA indicators, or there is even multiplicity M to M. Or maybe that indicator is not relevant for the country or not available, which in that case it's not considered for this specific case. So our question for today's discussion will be also how to deal with the multiplicity in our project. Now, this is one example, one example of M-to-1 mapping, example from Slovakia for the indicator, core set of indicator number 1, emission of acidifying substances. They actually provided 3 different indicators and 3 URLs. Each of the URLs is pointing to the structured indicator on the website. But this is now an example of M-to-1 mapping, so how to deal this within our project and within the link data. This is the recall of the good examples of all the countries who provided the URL as a direct link to the structured indicator on the website. So you can see the names of the countries who have already this possibility, and it is possible to find their indicators directly on the website. But still, the presentation of the indicators is a little bit different. The content is a little bit different. The amount of data that are presented in the indicator is a little bit different. So this will be something to consider later when we will be discuss at which level of indicator attributes and which attributes we can actually link. So what kind of gaps did we find? First, URL is not a direct link to the indicator. This is causing the problems for linking of data. And not all indicators are easily accessible on the website. Sometimes, there is the protected access to the database or to the indicator, or they are hidden inside another parts of information like reports, databases, or applications. And one of the strong candidates for the indicator attribute, which is the code of the indicator, is usually not provided. So, for instance, EEA uses codes as well, and other countries don't use those codes of for the indicators. Now, our next steps will be how to start mapping at the level of the indicator attribute. And here I would just shortly present that we will have to clarify our understanding of the main concepts of indicator catalog, indicator attributes, and to start identifying which attributes will be used for linking. So one proposal to start with it is actually to take the EA conceptual schema of indicators, which is very, which is presented here on this picture, and it will be explained much more in the detail later in the presentations. So, based on all of this thinking that in our project team in the EA we have already done, we see the following requirements that will have to be fulfilled in our future tasks. So we are talking about building SENSE-2 vocabulary of indicators. I'm mentioning here SENSE-2 because many different vocabularies might already exist, but for SENSE-2 it would be wise to focus only on those that are actually needed for SENSE-2. So we are talking about the subset of the vocabularies. It will be necessary to explore what kind of existing vocabularies are and how GAMET can be also used for the purpose of for this purpose in SENSE-2. Then we have to find the possibility, so this is we are waiting for your replies as well, what is the capability to provide and export RDF feeds of indicators, so what kind of knowledge and technology is already available in the countries, and how it is possible to also in the countries establish or provide, if this already exists, the conceptual schema of indicators similar to one that EA is building for the indicator structure. So, the proposed task, if I group these things together, these are the proposed tasks in this step for SENSE-2, with some roles who will do which task. This is a proposal for you and for us to discuss and to consider, and maybe and hopefully even to confirm them today on this session, because this will be then the indication for the continuation of our work in SENSE-2 project. I will bring this proposal of the tasks later on. And I would like shortly just to encourage some specific topics for the discussion, which will be at the end of our presentations. So, to identify what kind of needs do we have for indicator catalog, what kind of indicator metadata structures are used in the countries, and where we can find indicator attributes for mapping. Multiplicity, that I mentioned already, is a key question as well. And then how to start working with linked data, building vocabularies or reusing existing ones, and what kind of technology is needed. Further, we have to identify certain gaps, which means that not just gaps in our technical material, in our work, but also gaps in available people, knowledge and technology in the countries, which will have to be provided to continue the work in SENSE-2 project. And at the end, it's not another important issue is how to deal with multilingualism. We know that in SENSE-1, actually the national content was translated into English. Here we are more talking about linking existing national indicators, which are usually provided in national languages and not translated. But it's still important to have the information which language this is. So we have to find the ways at which level we can deal with multilingualism in SENSE-2 project. I would like to present that this workshop concludes with some of the outcomes, even maybe confirmation of certain things or with more open questions. And I put those outcomes in these 5 points. So first, we have to finish our workshop with more clear ideas about the indicators mapping, attributes, conceptual schemas and understanding of the schemas. Also, and the multiplicity, this would be the technical questions, how to continue to work with them. Then linked data and vocabularies would be the next outcome. Identified gaps, if we can identify them here, this would be one possibility, otherwise through our next following days in the project. Support to multilingualism, and if possible today, real confirmations for the next tasks in the project. I already proposed these 4 tasks, So let's see if you agree, if you share the same idea for the task to do in the continuation of this project. So I would like to close here. I hope I didn't give you too many different information. If you would like to raise any question, please.
My problems, at least. Exactly as the example you showed, Sweden do have, we don't, let me use the first indicator as an example. We don't have one indicator that is called emissions of acidifying substances. We have 4 different kinds of emissions of ammonia, sulfur dioxide, and exactly like that one. Why don't we go for the conceptual sort of decision that Karin showed us, that one presentation equals one indicator? The other way around is, of course, that you change, the EA change your concept, or we change our concept and sort of merge it into this indicator, acidifying substances. But I would prefer that one, that one presentation is one indicator with, I mean, diagram, text, and whatever, but that is the way we could sort of move forward. And if we do that, then I don't think you really need this conceptual schema for indicators if we all stick to that model. Is that a bad idea, or is it a workable idea? Question? Mark?
Okay, thank you for the proposal. I think that even the EA indicator is combined indicator, right? So maybe, and in our presentations we can show how to combine 3 individual, more individual indicators into one. But as I said, this is taken as a proposal, yes, to consider. I don't have the answer, so maybe if others, what would you prefer? If you have multi indicators in your indicator systems that can be mapped to one EA indicator, do you see any other problems with providing those indicators?
Okay. It looks like we are happy because we have just one indicator, 001. But the question is, we have one indicator, you have one indicator, but do we have the same data, the same graph presentation, the same content of the indicator or not? This is the question. And I'm afraid that this is something which on EA side must be decided, how the indicator will looks like, which data we will provide to you, and how the final presentation will be, how it will look like. Okay. Or maybe this is from my side is misunderstanding, but I think that is the task.
What you're asking is how comparable your national indicator is with the EA indicator? Yes.
If the aim of the project is to change the system of data delivering for indicator presentation and after that for soil and for other there, or it is the other aim, or we are going to create something really different, or we are going to support your indicator presentation?
No, I don't think we are going to be that ambitious that we want to streamline the indicators. It's more like an effort to figure out how diverse we are between the countries and the EA. We are trying to match the indicators on some very coarse categories. And one thing that we could do, for instance, is when we show the CSI-001 indicator, we could find all indicators that are relevant to CSI-001, i.e. air pollution. And if that means that Sweden will have 4 indicators in there because they have split it up to 4 pollutants, so be it. Then they will just get 4 links to their website, to different pages on the website. This is the least ambitious idea, to create links to the national websites out of this RDF that we get. Depending on what we actually can get, we can become more ambitious. We can make benchmarking, for instance. But we just don't know what we will get yet. I saw several fingers over there.
I just asked myself whether being more explicit in mapping could help, so that you do not just say closely matches or is something similar, but that you be a little bit more explicit. I don't know now, I can't name you all possibilities, but matches in case of, or is contributes with that and that to the other indicator. Then we already have a winning situation to the SE standard, and we can further on develop a good network of indicators.
Yes, I'm all for it, and there is, in the conceptual schema, there is a link called related indicator that you can use. It's only put on the specification, because we get new indicators every year, or even more often. So if you make a link in 2012 to our indicator in 2012, once we create a new indicator for 2013, then the link won't work any longer, unless you continue to make links from your new versions to our new versions all the time. So by putting the related indicator on the specification, we can basically figure out that this indicator assessment in Germany for 2013 points to this specification points to our specification at EEA, and we have an indicator for 2013 now. Then we can create the links between the 2 assessments automatically. Kind?
Yes, for me, sometimes I have a hard time understanding why I should wrap my indicators into RDF, and all you provide in the end is links to our indicators. For me, there should really be an aim in assessing something. There must be a goal why you want to do that, and this is not really clear to me. And I think this would help, because otherwise I can just provide my links and you have it every time updated. And yes, there should be a certain, I don't know, benchmarking involved, or if you just want to have a different views on things. But then I would really, really appreciate if we could keep things very simple and have, just as Bernd said, a very simple data set that is really comparable then.
Yes, I agree with your point of view. I am just looking at further into the future, where we hopefully will get a lot more national data, and at that point it can start to take over the ReportNet deliveries. If we can get your database or your data as RDF and linked data, maybe you don't have to provide CDDA data every year about your protected sites. and several other data flows in ReportNet don't have to be done this way any longer. So I see this more like a capacity building exercise. And indicators there are very few of them. You can do them in principle by hand, but we prefer that you start to figure out what tools are relevant for your particular computer system. Was that a satisfactory answer? Any other questions?
Very concretely on the schema, are we still using exactly the same schema, or?
I have a presentation on the conceptual
no
schema, which I have renamed to How to Build Your SENSE-2 Feed.
Could I propose then that we move with our presentations, and you will have probably more questions or maybe get more clarifications from the presentations as well. So.